AOA brought to you by Tub Shrooms. Catch that hair before it goes into the lake.
Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the Average Ontario Anglers Fishing Podcast. Now, if you listened to our podcast before and you think you know what to expect, you're in for a doozy this time because it's a little different subject matter. So we try and keep things informative and educational, giving tips and pointers on different angling techniques or stories, and we will have some of that today. But this is kind of one of those special episodes. We usually do one or two a year, and it's now time for more unbelievable fishing lore.
It's been a long time. It's been like 8 months. I'm excited.
Yeah, people were starting to call Jesse and be like, "So when are you doing another one of those lore episodes?" We're like, "You want more?" Weirdos. Okay, but we listened, we heard, and we're putting it out there.
Back by popular demand. It's not popular, but someone demanded it.
All 10 of you asked for this. But first off, as tradition states, we're going to have an interesting fishing fact to start things off this week. And to handle that is the man who has grown back his beard and sometimes wears glasses to prevent headaches. Jesse.
Yes, thank you. I do like seeing sometimes, especially when I'm fishing. So this interesting fishing fact, I would like to first give a shout out to on Instagram. His name is Great North Angling. His name is Paul Mann. And he sent me an Instagram message and he said, I think it'd be really cool if you did an interesting fishing fact on this topic. And he gave me a suggested topic, a little bit of information, and it was actually very interesting. So I told him, yes, I'll use that eventually. And unfortunately, it's been probably 4 months since he sent it to me. So I didn't forget, Paul. This is a cool one. So I thought I'd kind of script it in a way that it's more like a little bit of a story, because if you're not into bugs, this could be pretty boring. But if you're someone like Andrew, this could be the best thing ever. Andrew loves bugs. He's a weird guy. Have you ever seen these things? I know like summer is done. Summer is done. It's fall, and you don't see as much bugs outside anymore, which for most people, that's a great thing. Like I just went camping this past weekend. I did not see a single mosquito. It was absolutely amazing. But some bugs are pretty cool. So one of the coolest bugs I know me and Andrew really like is the water striders. Mm-hmm. You ever see those things and you see them like skating on top of the water? Those things are pretty cool. I even remember when I was a kid, just at the dock fishing, you'd always see them skating around and you're like, oh, those are cool, right? We call them water striders. Some people apparently call them Jesus bugs because they walk on water, but I've never heard that myself. So we're just going to call them. It's like
them calling the basilisk lizard the Jesus lizard. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
It runs on the water. I want you to picture this scene. So imagine that you're out for a peaceful stroll by a pond. The sun is shining, the water's calm, and you see these delicate little insects effortlessly skimming across the surface of the water. They look like figure skaters gliding on a mirror. Fancy. Have you ever wondered why they're streaking? Why are they striding across? Well, technically they're not wearing clothes, so yeah. But why are they striding across the top of the water? Because beneath the calm exterior, water striders are living out a full-blown soap opera, so to say. We're talking about aggressive suitors, desperate females, predator blackmail, and medieval-looking body part shields. It's basically a very intense mating game that makes The Bachelor look like a kindergarten playdate. We're going to talk about the basics of water striders. They are really cool bugs. They have super hydrophobic legs, which basically let them float on top of the surface of the water. And it also, because their legs are out in like an X, so to say, it distributes their weight perfectly on top of the surface tension of the water. So they're not actually even breaking the surface of the water. They're literally just like on top of the water, it's very cool. It's kind of like us wearing snowshoes on like hard snow, and we're just like standing on top of snow if you're not too chubby. So anyway, if you ever wondered why these things are actually skating around on top of the water, well, it's actually interesting. The male water striders, they're basically focused on one thing, and that is mating. That's their main thing in life. They want to do it apparently as many times as possible so that they can, pass on their genes to the next generation. They're bugs. Like they're not perverts or anything. That's just what they're doing. but they're not super subtle about it. So, like how some animals, you'll see them and they'll be like, courting each other, or like, their feathers go out and they're trying to impress others. Not so with the water strider. It's kind of sketchy how they pass on their generation, so to say. So basically, a male water strider will spot or find a female water strider and basically just jump on top of her back, like without a choice, just like jumps on top of her. Not good. So the female's goal, yeah,
Well,
is
not for our species. That's
yeah, we're talking about bugs, okay? So the male's goal is to have his, to mate. The female's goal, because producing the eggs that she has to produce, it takes a lot of energy and she only has so many eggs. So she doesn't want to waste that on just any water strider. She's very picky.
I have an idea where this is going.
Yeah, they want to choose wisely with a high quality male. Who knows how they decide what a high quality water strider is? I don't know. Maybe he's wearing a gold chain. Who knows?
I'm picturing all of a sudden she turns into a bucking bronco, and the male who can hold on is the one who's proved himself worthy.
That would be the tame version, Andrew. Get ready for
Oh
this.
no.
Now, you may think now the male has the advantage because he's jumped on top of the other insect's back. Not so much. The female actually has counter maneuvers. She has this thing, I don't know I'm not going to pronounce the
Flares.
way to say it, but she basically has this defense mechanism that is kind of like a private part shield, so to say. So they call it, yeah, I'm not going to say it, but it's just like a shield. So basically it's a hardened part of the exoskeleton. So if she's not ready to mate at all, she just locks that up and nothing's going to happen, right? So the male can't do anything. You might think, okay, that's the end of the story, right? So the male jumps on top. She's like, nope, I'm locked up. It's not going to happen. And the male's like, all right. And he jumps off and skates away into the distance, right? Tries to find someone else.
You've just described chastity belts.
Yes.
For insects.
Yes. Yes. Now, you may think at first the male jumps on, the female says no, and you might think, okay, there's nothing he can do next. Unfortunately, the male actually has some blackmail. It's kind of sketchy. So what he starts doing is actually interesting. He starts tapping his legs on the water's surface in a very specific rhythm. If you're looking at this, you'd be like, I have no idea why he's doing that. But what he's doing is he knows, I guess, I don't know, like these bugs aren't like deep thinkers or anything, but I guess he knows that below the surface, when he's tapping, he's basically ringing the dinner bell to fish, frogs, and other things that will attack them. So that's the genius, or the evil genius part of this is she's not interested. So he basically is like, come and get it. Come and get it. Starts ringing the dinner bell.
If I can't have her, nobody can.
Yeah. Essentially, he says, if you don't lower your shield, we both will die because a fish will come up and eat us.
Wow.
I'd say that's like predatory blackmail. Like, that's pretty sketchy. Oh, anyway. So it doesn't end there.
Oh, man.
I know. Thanks, Paul, for the sketchy one that I'm reading. So the females basically responded by getting better shields, stronger bodies, and escape behaviors like ninja flips to fling the males off. The males, in turn, they actually started to develop bigger grappling hooks for arms. Like, they have these little claws in the ends of their arms. So when the female tries to buck him off, he just hangs on because he's good. These bugs are just like, nope, it doesn't matter. I will work it out, and my future generations will succeed somehow.
All I can picture is you like, oh, they were developing this to combat this, to combat this. And I'm like, this is just like us as humans getting out of a toxic relationship and like, I gotta hit the gym and like just improve myself.
Just glow up.
Like, that's what these things are doing. You're very accurate in saying this is a soap opera on the water.
Yes. For a progressive summary here, the males build better weapons, and then the females build better defenses, and then they repeat that generation after generation. So yeah, it's actually very interesting. Like, I would watch this show 100%. I would.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch this show. To continue on, because it kind of goes. All of this drama that we're talking about, that me and Andrew are saying, it's kind of like a drama show, comes at a price. For the females, resisting the males takes energy. Of course, they're going through all this defenses that take energy. Struggling increases their heart rate, their metabolism, and it basically makes them a bigger target for getting eaten by fish, of course. And for the males, having giant spiky antenna, or these little claw things, may make it easier to grab someone, but at the same time, it makes them actually clumsier when it comes to finding and grabbing food. So it's kind of like a catch-22. It's good for one thing, but it's not good for the other thing. Scientists said, neither side wins completely. It's just a constant back and forth, a living example of what biologists call antagonistic coevolution. I don't know what that means, but it's stupid.
That's hilarious.
Oh, so that is interesting. Now, just to end this a bit, of all of these weird things that are going on at the same time, it's a way that people can check, or like biologists can check on the fish ecosystem health, which is where it's kind of interesting, because they said that if there's no fish, the males can't use it to force mating. So the water strider populations typically don't last long if there's no fish. But if there's lots of water striders, that means lots of fish for the males to use as leverage. So it's kind of interesting. So they're using, if they are not successful and they are hitting the water with their legs, then the fish populations do well because there's all these extra bugs that they can eat. But if the water striders are successful mating, they don't have to basically kill themselves and sacrifice them to the giant fish underneath the water. So that's one interesting part of that, is that you can tell, the biologists and scientists that are looking at these water striders can tell something by studying these water strider populations, how well the fish populations are doing. So that's pretty interesting. I'd have to say, just to wrap this up, I'm glad I'm not a water strider. That just seems like an exhausting life and just terrible. I don't know. Or maybe I'd be lucky. Maybe I'd jump onto another water strider and she'd be like, yep, we're good. And I wouldn't have to, evolve claws. Andrew, on the other hand, he'd have some giant claws.
I'd be hitting the gym after every unsuccessful, attempt.
You just see a water strider and it's just literally punching the surface.
Rage.
It looks like Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So anyway, we would like to thank Paul Mann again for sending that in. If you guys have an interesting fishing fact that you think is interesting, and probably not as weird and gross as this one, make sure to send it to us. Send us an email at averageontarioanglers@gmail.com, and we will check them out. We really appreciate any feedback or cool things like this that we can do. Because you know what, Andrew, we do have some interesting fishing facts that, every once in a while we're like, this one's awesome. But sometimes it's nice when people do the work for us, right?
That's right. Yeah, big thanks to Paul for him be so bold to say, Paul, you're a man. Yep, you opened yourself up to an opportunity by letting us say something that you sent us. So,
yep.
All right, we're gonna move to our. Oh, actually, Jesse had told me he has a little extra thing this episode as well. So he has interesting fishing fact. Later on, we're gonna have a story time, but right now we have some fishing news. So, what news do you have that has come up that has piqued your interest?
It's not news, it's more AOA news. So it's kind of like, some news. I would just like to add, because we didn't really mention this before, we started doing this maybe a few episodes ago. But if you are someone that watches the episode video on YouTube, that's great. We have a small amount of people that do that. We get, I'd say 90% of our listens come from audio on Spotify, Apple, or whatever podcast streaming service. But if you are one of those people that likes to watch on YouTube, there's a bunch of guys that like watching it. They like seeing what we're talking about. And you are a Patreon member that supports the show, we are uploading an ad-free version. So when it's on YouTube, obviously there's ads on it. But if you're annoyed that there's ads on it, you should be. But if you're a Patreon member and you support the show, go onto our Patreon page, and every day that the podcast comes out, I'll upload the full video. It'll be ad-free. You can watch it without any ads. And that's just an added benefit of being a Patreon member.
If you aren't subscribed yet, come on, hit that button. We really appreciate it. If you have multiple phones, hook them up to all automatically download just to boost our ratings. That's fantastic. Feel free to do so.
What? Yeah,
Just get a Bitcoin hobby, like mining farm or whatever, and constantly downloading or streaming our podcast just so we look better.
Did you see the latest Superman movie?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay, I won't. This doesn't really ruin it for anyone, so this isn't really a spoiler. But there's this scene where they have like a bunch of monkeys. There's like thousands of monkeys, and they're all online, just like causing social chaos. And I was like, man, I need a bunch of like AOA monkeys, just like all in the computer, just listening to the podcast and typing reviews out. Yeah. Just to add though, because we keep track of our ratings and stuff, and again our downloads, we're actually at 609 5-star reviews on our podcast, which is absolutely fantastic. So again, please write us a review if you haven't. And when we read your reviews, we just like our last podcast just came out, and yesterday I had 2 people message me and be like, hey, you read my review, that's awesome. So now I know who they are, because their weird name doesn't match up to what their Instagram name is. So yeah, thanks guys. Anyway, Andrew can continue now.
Excellent. So we're going to move on to our main section of the podcast. Again, unbelievable fishing lore. This is where we kind of take some creatures that you might experience out there on the water when you are fishing, when you're out camping. And I'm trying to keep these as local as possible. It's getting tough to find more and more of them that are based out of Ontario, but I've kept it within Canada. Maybe in the future I might start, branching out into worldwide, because there's so much folklore and stuff like that, mythological creatures, where there's stuff, for a bunch of these episodes if we expand our horizons. But this one is still focused within Canada. We have thousands of kilometers of rivers, of coastline, of lakes. We have a variety of freshwater to saltwater, but between all these waters, there's a bunch of creatures. Some we love, things like bass, pike. Not many people like pike, but I like pike. Yeah, loons. We love loons. But then there's weird things. Then you have things like Nessie. Well, that's in Scotland, but Beaverton Bessie.
Oh yeah, true. Beaverton Bessie, which is just like the sad knockoff version of Nessie. Also, just to mention before we get into this, if you're a new listener and you haven't listened to any of our unbelievable fishing lore episodes, I'm going to link all of them down below. I think there's like 3 or 4
it's
of them
a good
over
series,
the last 2 years. It's a good series to listen to, and they're great series, especially to listen to on on the way to work or on a road trip. They're just, you can kind of zone out and listen to them. They're pretty fun.
I highly recommend zoning out.
Yes.
So today we're going to be going over 9 different ones, and they all have a common thread. They're all aquatic in nature, and they're all found in Canada's waters, apparently. Now, I do want to say, I have a hidden kind of surprise in this one. One of these 9 is completely made up. And by that, I mean, like, some of them are 100% real. 100% real. One of them only is 100% not real. I made it up.
Okay, you personally made it up. Okay.
I made it up.
I was going to say, because some of these cryptids, the drunk weirdos that live by the lake made them up.
Nope, those are real.
Okay.
This is 100% historical facts. You can take that to the bank, people.
Okay, so there's 9, but really there's only 8 because one of them is made up.
Yeah. So
let me
Jesse,
guess.
at the end of it, Jesse is going to guess. I'm only going to say, actually, I'm not even telling you yes or no on the air. Next week, I'll let people know what the one was that was actually made up by myself. But smart. I want to hear Jesse will give his guess at the end, and then people can comment down below whatever they like their guess is for the episode. And then next week on our next episode, I'll let you know what the actual one was that I invented.
You know what? I won't feel that bad because most of these sound crazy. So even if I pick one that's real, it's not like I sound like a complete moron.
So Jesse and I are going to take some turns, reading some of these. So I'm going to start the first one. This one is the Ponik, the serpent of Lake Pohenegamuk. I'm probably going to butcher most of the names. I'm sure Jesse will too. Don't come at us. I don't have the time to try and figure out how to say these properly.
Well, see, that has an accent aigu, which is pronounced like an A. So it would be Pohenegamuk. I don't know. Just kidding. Keep going.
It's in Quebec, so...
Parlez-vous français?
No. In Bas-Saint-Laurent in Quebec. So the Ponik is described as a massive horse-headed serpent up to 40 feet long, often with dark scales, a long neck, and small horns protruding from its head. Witnesses report its surface movement can create rolling wakes as if the lake itself were alive. So I want you to imagine like you are on the water, and then you're on this lake. It's tucked among the misty forests and quiet hills. Its waters are still and reflective. Now this happened in 1976. Tourists canoeing at dusk noticed ripples trailing them where water should have been calm. At first it looked like a log, one recalled, but the log was moving against the current. Then, with a sudden burst, the lake erupted. An enormous dark shape broke the surface, revealing a long neck and horse-like head crowned with small horns. For several seconds it lingered, watching. before vanishing with a crashing splash. What would you do if if all of a sudden you're like, the water's like a little ripply behind that canoe, and all of a sudden something the size of a tree is just like it bursts out of the water and just stares at you for like a few seconds.
Well, hopefully if I was wearing my glasses, I would see, but if I wasn't, I'd be like, I wouldn't say anything. It's funny how a lot of these stories just are like, and then there was this log. It's like, maybe they're just logs.
we had talked about it before on another episode. We had come up with, Jesse and I like to come up with our own mythological creatures or folklore kind of creatures when we're camping on different lakes. We had one when we were backwoods camping up north, and it was the log eel.
Yes, the log eel.
We had this whole like story we had up about it, and it just looks like a regular log. But then only once every few years it feeds on flesh, but otherwise it looks just like a log. And I think a lot of this stuff is literally just, a tree was floating and it kind of like had a weird little wiggle in the water.
Yeah.
So there are older tales that speak of the Ponic following boats, keeping just out of sight but sending rhythmic ripples across the water, kind of like the wind. One fisherman described hearing a steady whoosh right behind his canoe, only to find the lake eerily empty when he turned. While skeptics suggest that sturgeon or drifting timber, locals maintain Ponic behaves unlike any fish, reminding all who visit that the lake has its guardian lurking beneath the surface.
This one, I'm sure it's real, right? It's real.
100%.
But it just sounds like every myth we've ever talked about is like a bunch of people saw a floating log and they swear it's an animal. And then it turns out to be a log or a sturgeon every single time. But there's always like a few crackpots that are like, no, it's I saw it once. I fed it a bologna sandwich. It's like, okay. I'll tell you though, the one thing is, if I was in a canoe like these people, any large splash is terrifying. So
especially when it's like the sun is set like at dusk or whatever, and the sun is dipped below the horizon, so you're seeing just like long shadows. You're seeing like the shadows of an island or the shoreline behind you. You can't see anything. Like and then your mind is constantly building things up.
Things get a lot scarier at night, especially when you're like on a lake. It's just like instantly, like it could be water that you fish all the time. As soon as it gets dark, it's like a completely new world. You're like, where's the dock? It's like right behind you. Oh, that doesn't sound fake. So yeah,
that's like the traditional, like quintessential lake monster, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping Andrew's fake one is just like the unicorn pig. I'm like, yeah, I know.
I did pretty good, I think, of disguising it in with all these.
All right. I'll read the next one. So the next one is not based on a fishing lure, the Ned rig, but this one is called Old Ned. So Old Ned was alive long before the Ned rig was invented. And this is the Lake Utopia monster of New Brunswick. So if you're out on, the East Coast there in New Brunswick, you've probably heard of Old Ned. And Old Ned is not, that old guy that fishes by the dock with no shoes and a backwards hat. Description: Old Ned is a massive whale or serpent-like creature. That's usually what it is. It's like, well, it could be this or this. Huh? Reportedly 30 to 40 feet long with a wide, dark body and the occasional spout of water or foam. Sounds like a whale to me. And it's in New Brunswick. So, I mean, that's plausible. Mm-hmm. Yes. Like if it was in Ontario, you'd be like, nah. Okay. So Andrew always makes me read the ones that, I apologize in advance. The Passamaquoddy people, they basically have warnings that carried all the way to the 20th century when two fishermen in 1932 reported being chased halfway across the lake by a rolling beast spouting foam. That would be terrifying if that is a real thing. So imagine like this huge whale or something is flying at you across the lake, not just for a few feet, across half the lake, and it's not stopping, and foam is shooting out of the top of it. It's like being chased by a train, but in the water.
I'm picturing like a dragon boat race, but the guy in the front, instead of like keeping the beat, he's just spraying a fire extinguisher at you.
Yep. It's funny because what do all of these things have in common? Usually a canoe. Yeah. They describe the canoe rocking violently as something surged behind them. Really, let's be serious. When you're in a canoe, it is usually violently rocking. Let's be serious. They said that the thing surged behind them, silent, except for the water itself heaving in great waves. Decades later, sightings continued. In 1996, I was 5.
I was 3.
Child.
Yeah. Those 2 years really aged you.
I know. So decades later, in 1996, locals saw a massive shadow gliding under the surface near the same time a man drowned in the lake. Some took it as proof Old Ned was an omen appearing before tragedy. Fishermen still claim to feel watched when alone on the lake at dusk, as if the water itself is tracking them. Whether a giant fish or something stranger, Old Ned's legend has made Lake Utopia a place of both beauty and unease. Okay, sometimes when you think someone's looking at you and you have that feeling and it's just like the sixth sense, you can sense it, Imagine fishing all the time, and as you're fishing by yourself, when it's like dark out and you're just like, ooh, it's a bit spooky. And then all of a sudden the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you're like, someone's watching me right now. And you look on the lake and there's no one there. It's just the water. Terrifying. This one doesn't sound made up, Andrew.
Nope. I can definitely see a 40-foot creature being there in a small lake.
Well, you never know.
I mean, hey, it could. Maybe a whale jumped over a small levee and it landed in this lake and it just lived out its days there,
Yeah, why not?
It's it free willied right over a small piece of land.
I'd honestly rather be dealing with Old Ned myself than the last monster, because the last monster just seemed more lame. This one's way cooler. It chases you across half the lake, and then the rest of the time it's just not there, but you feel it. You're like, oh.
Yeah. except when you go to tell people, oh, what happened? I was chased by Old Ned. They're thinking I don't know, you were a prey for some weird predator that's not a creature. I don't know. It's Old Ned was chasing me again.
That's old Ned. He's the drunk guy that owns the steamboat down the lake. What's it for? He just likes driving it.
He chases people around.
He's wearing a Speedo.
Oh man,
these are getting better. I see that Andrew put these in a certain order.
I curated some. Yeah,
I can tell. And the ones that Andrew's to read, I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to read this one. Then I look at the next one, I'm like, dang it.
So the next one is the Cadborosaurus, the Pacific serpent in British Columbia. So this one lives in the coastal waters of British Columbia, particularly the Cadboro Bay near Victoria. So, Victoria, BC, that's a huge city. People recognize that. It's on most maps. So this one is in the coastal water. So it is ocean dwelling. So his nickname is Caddy, and therefore I will be calling him Caddy because it's easier to say. He's a long-bodied sea serpent with a horse or camel-like head, undulating coils, and flippers. Reports suggest it can reach up to 50 feet in length. Anytime I get to say the word undulating, it's like, yes.
It's the best.
It's the best lures undulate.
It's been a few episodes since you said that. I'd say probably 20.
So Caddy has been reported for centuries. He appeared in both indigenous traditions and settler newspapers. In 1933, there was a Victorian couple. They claimed to see a 40-foot serpent rolling gracefully through Cadboro Bay, its head rising above the water like that of a horse. I'd love to see a serpent. I guess, yeah, serpents move gracefully, I would say. Even when you see a snake on the ground, it's they have that nice sachet.
They're smooth.
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to say it, gracefully. But when it said earlier, it's undulating coils. I'm thinking something like corkscrewing through the water.
That's terrifying.
I know. But its head just doesn't rotate. It stays still. The body's going around it.
You ever see a water snake and it's kind of just swimming and you're like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And then you see a 4-foot one and you're like, less cool, more scary.
I'm cool with water snakes as long as I know where they are.
Yes.
If I feel it on my leg, not good.
So 4 years later, so that would be 1937, whalers allegedly cut open a sperm whale to discover the partially digested remains of a similar creature inside. Though, guess what happened, Jesse? The carcass samples have long since disappeared.
Classic.
You know what, though? If we still had them around, it would have been proven 100%.
100%.
Absolutely. Modern accounts, though, they still surface. In 2016, a boater described a dark shape moving with terrifying speed, faster than anything else in the water, rolling just below his vessel before vanishing to deeper waters. Maybe a tuna. Or a shark. They can move really quick. So to many, Caddy is proof that the Pacific still hides secrets, vast, elusive, and larger than we're prepared to imagine.
I,
I agree. The ocean,
it's massive.
it has stuff we have no idea about. There's scientifically proven things, and I won't get into it now. Like the colossal squid, they know so little about. All they know is they've caught juveniles that are huge, and they've found sucker scars that are way bigger than you can imagine, like bigger than your face for just one sucker. Like
Yeah.
there are monsters that we have not seen that are out there, especially in the ocean. So something like this, I could see it may not be exactly as described, but a creature this size, I can see this being real.
Well, for sure. Like I just looked up and it's like how much of the ocean has been explored.
Less than space.
Like it's so varied. Some people are like, "Oh, it's this much or this much," but it seems like the consensus is about 5 to 10% of the ocean has been explored. And the way I look at it is you don't realize how big the ocean is. Like I've never had the privilege to be like out in the middle of the ocean where you can't see shore, and shore is like hundreds of miles in every direction, but it's such a vast amount of water and it's so deep. I think of it the way is like you can fish a lake that has muskie in it, giant muskie. Like if you saw one in 2 feet of water beside the dock, like a 48, 50-inch muskie, you'd be like, that is giant. Like there's no way that you could never not see that again. But unless you're searching for those fish, you might see it once in a lifetime in that lake. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a muskie. They're not overly intelligent. Imagine these like super intelligent, like dolphins are very intelligent, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's other species of sea fish or like sea monsters, so to say, that are very intelligent and big and fast and they can go deep. And they're in that 95% of the ocean that we can't, discover. And they're smart enough to stay away from humans. Like
Yeah.
100% I agree with you. Because like even like you said, the big squid,
Yep.
like they only find ones that randomly die. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. This one, I could see this. I just
Mhm.
always think it's funny that they're always like, they claim to be 40 to 50 feet long. It's like, that seems to be the standard size that everyone says that the sea monster is. It's never
Yeah.
like, oh, it's 17 feet long. That would still be terrifying. But it happens to be 50 feet long. Like, I don't know how long that is, but that's like a transport trunk light.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's pretty big. I don't know. This one sounds made up just because it sounds like it's called the Cardboardosaurus. Sounds made up. All right, this one right here, I think so far is the one that I'm going to say sounds the most made up so far. And I can see Andrew's eyeball twitching slightly, so that maybe means I'm right.
It's because I'm looking at you and then at me to make sure I'm not looking stupid. When I look back, my eyes are like crossed.
It's true. All right, that's cool. I could see that. Although I do find the fact that it has like a camel head the most
I know
terrifying.
of all descriptive things.
Yeah, because I feel like if I was fishing and this like big head came up beside my boat and it was a camel, I'd be like, ah!
The creepiest thing is it comes up with a camel head and it's like, okay, and then it starts chewing on something and the camels have that like really weird like side to side jaw motion.
Yeah.
That freaked me out.
Oh. All right, this next one, I don't think I'm going to be able to pronounce this. I'm going to take a stab at it. It's the Sisiutlo.
I'd say it's a Sweetle.
Sisweetle?
Maybe.
I have no
Sounds like
idea.
a Pokemon.
Sisweetle. The double-headed serpent of the Pacific Ocean. Another serpent, of course.
But double-headed.
Double-headed, double. Remember that SpongeBob when he's like, I got this double jellyfish net. It's triple the fun. It's like, Patrick, no. All right, Sisweetle. I'm just going to call this the Sis. The Sis. Okay, the Sis is a double-headed serpent of the Pacific Northwest. The location of the sightings, coastal waters of British Columbia and Washington State. So it likes to scare Americans and Canadians. It's a giant serpent with 2 heads and a human-like face at its center.
Only 2 heads, but 3 faces.
Okay, so I don't get it. It has 2 heads, but it has 3 faces. Is the middle face just like on the stub where its like neck would be? Where before the neck separates into 2, the human face is down there. I don't know. All right, that's terrifying, but this gets worse. It says to have invincibility to warriors who respect it. Okay.
It can confer. It can give invincibility to warriors.
Oh, okay. So it gives invincibility to warriors who respect it, but its gaze can paralyze or destroy enemies. That's pretty cool. I have all respect for a double-headed snake with a man face in the middle. Let that
It's
be known.
like it's like the worst version. It's the Medusa you have at home.
Ugh, it's literally terrible. All right.
I want to see you read this word though.
What? Okay, the sis is a sacred figure in the Kawak. Again, if you're from that tradition, it's a
Yes.
coast Salish traditions. I apologize. That was
Oh,
not how you pronounce
I
it.
I saw that word and all I could think of Jesse's gonna sound like Fozzie Bear. Kawaka waka.
Yeah, it's Kawak. Okay, anyway, but it
Yeah.
appears on totem poles and masks a symbol of strength. I find Native Canadian and Aboriginal like stuff very interesting.
It's
They're one
so
of the most
cool. Yeah.
interesting cultures, but some of the names I just can't pronounce, so I apologize. So it's on totem poles, which I love seeing totem poles. Those things are super cool. Oral histories describe its passage as unmistakable. This is the cool part. You've probably seen this when you go bass fishing sometimes. The fog thickens suddenly, the air grows still, and the water ripples as if it's alive. One of the elders recalls traveling by canoe when the
Whoa.
ocean boiled without wind. He insisted that they cross the path of the Sis, the weird thing I'm not going to pronounce, though the serpent itself remained unseen. So he
What
basically
a
was like,
story.
let's go see it. And then it didn't show up.
They're like, it's
Uh,
foggy. That was it.
He's like, here comes the Sis. And nothing happened. And so the legend remains. But then he said, for those who do glimpse it, the stories differ. Some speak of warriors gaining supernatural resilience, others of paralysis and fear. Probably what would happen to me. Even today, fishermen tell of strange wakes following them in calm water, as though the double headed serpent still roams beneath the Pacific. I think that would just be a shark just following you. I don't know.
I think this is the same serpent as the last one as Caddy, except this one has a deformity. He's like that one in the family who just came out looking weird, and he's got two heads and a face in the middle, and they kind of just shunned him, and he had to be on his own.
The creature itself is pretty terrifying. Like, it's, again, a serpent with
Mm-hmm.
two heads and a human face. I think any animal with a human face is terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
any animal, like, picture it. Like, you see a dog with a human face, that's terrifying.
Oh,
That's a skinwalker.
it's it's stuff out nightmares.
Yeah.
I love the story about this because most of the stories are things like oh, it's we saw this and it reared its head and we saw the creature. And this story is like we were in a canoe and it got foggy and the water had waves and we said that was it. It's like
Tell your
that's sweet.
grandchildren.
I'm gonna do that way more. We're gonna be out and just like any weird noise or splash that we hear. It's just like you know what that was. That was the Sis.
This is salute. Yeah. I don't know. It's a little more, whoever saw this or made this up, who knows? They had a little bit more of an imagination. I'll say that. Most of them are just like, it's a log and it's a fish, but it looks like a serpent. At least this serpent has two heads and a human face. Anyway. All right. Next one.
So the next one, we're back in Ontario. Again, we
Yay.
had a lot that featured in Ontario in previous episodes, but this one here, I was able to find another one. So the glimmerback, the shimmering forest
Ooh.
fish of Lake Kettle, Ontario. So Lake Kettle, it's near Algonquin Provincial Park. It's described as a carp-sized fish, which is a nice change. Everything's always like sturgeon. Carp are big too. So a carp-sized fish with jewel-toned iridescent scales and a tall sail-like dorsal fin. Its amber eyes glow faintly at night, and it's said to leap several meters out of the water, scattering light like a prism. In the summer of 1998, there were 3 Toronto campers fishing at Lake Kettle, and they claimed to see something extraordinary. Night had settled in, and mist rolled across the lake, and a massive fish leapt high into the air, its scales scattering moonlight in dazzling flashes. Its eyes locked on ours, one said, glowing like lanterns. The following night, while paddling near shore, they felt a humming vibration run through the canoe. That's weird, and it's not just someone farting in the front. Like
It's totally different. I felt that many times.
Looking down, they watched as the fish herded minnows into a perfect circle that shimmered like a living chandelier beneath the water. They'd left Lake Kettle convinced that they had been followed by something rare and intelligent. Locals, however, had already given it the name Glimmerback as the guardian of the lake. I like that one just because it's just, again, I could see that. Like, mirror carp exist. which are, when you have an abnormal scale pattern. Like, I'd like to think of one as being just like super shiny.
Remember that that book we read when we were kids? It was called like Rainbow Fish, and he had like different colored scales.
Yes.
And he was shiny, and then he eventually like gave all his friends one of his scales so they could all be shiny too.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
that's
forget what
his
lesson
relative.
that taught me, but
It taught you that you can remove parts of your body and give yourself an increased chance of infection just to make your friends happy. Never do
and they
that.
never appreciated it.
That's true. This one, it seems more like someone literally had the worst camping trip. They were both sick. Like, when you're sick and you're just like you're having fever dreams and you're like, I'm gonna go camping anyway. I've done that before with Andrew. I was like just over a flu, and I was just like, I was still so out of it, and we went camping anyway. These guys were literally just like whacked.
That, or they went foraging for some mushrooms earlier and they just can't identify proper ones.
And they literally saw like a fish jump out of the water, and they were like, oh, whoa.
It's just a regular, like a half second. For them, it was like minutes.
Yeah. The clouds opened up, a beam of light went down, light reflected. Then they looked in the water, and all the fish were schooled around singing songs. Yeah, I don't know. This one sounds made up, or just like really lame at the least.
Yeah. I was actually thinking, in the middle of all these different creatures, speaking of, I figured since we're back in the thoughts of being in Ontario, Jesse was just recently camping. And so I thought I'd give him the opportunity now to tell us about his monsters that he saw during his trip.
Oh,
see how I set him up there? Do with that. Go tell us, Jesse.
All right. So I went back to this lake we went camping at. It was, it was nice. It was my wife and her sister's family. Beautiful lake, small lake, but there are muskie in the lake. And last year I went, I caught a decent muskie, had a bunch of follows. And I said to Andrew, I'm like, this lake is perfect for small boats. Like, there's muskie in there, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful lake. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So we made a plan to go up there in October during prime muskie season, right? And it was like bluebird skies and just flat calm. And we went and we're fishing this beautiful lake with beautiful spots. Didn't see a single fish, like zero, no follows, nothing. And we were just like 2 days in a row, just like dejected, like this. Like, usually, even if you're terrible at musky fishing, you see at least one, you see something, right? So I went up just like with all the hope in the world this time. And we went up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday, we got up there. We set up the site, and then I went out fishing 2-3 hours before sunset, and I knew this one weed bed. This lake, it's a shield lake, so it's super deep, lots of rocks, but if you find weeds there, there's always a muskie there, always. And there's this one weed bed, like there's very few weed beds in this lake, but if you find them, you know that there's fish there. So I have them marked on my GPS. I was like, all right, I'm going to shoot down this like a little river, and I get to the weed bed, I fish it, nothing. It was cloudy, it was warm, it was nice. The next day I wake up in the morning to go fishing. It is freezing. 5 degrees, bluebird skies, freezing cold. And I was like, oh, the worst muskie fishing condition ever. And the forecast for the next 3 days is exactly the same. I was like, yep. So anyway, I just want to tell you about some of the follows that I got from muskie because they were very exciting and interesting. And this is just a thing to tell you too. Like, I know a lot of people are like, man, you guys just slam fish all the time. If they follow us on Instagram, see the pictures, we catch fish. But we're just like you guys, like we go on trips, sometimes full trips. Like this whole trip, I didn't catch nothing, not a bass, nothing. I was just fishing for muskie. But there are times, especially when you muskie fish, where you will skunk multiple days in a row. And that's just the name of the game, right? But I did have a few awesome follows I want to tell you about that literally made my hands shake when I was trying to like sharpen my hook. My hands were shaking. So there's this one really nice shoal that comes up, and it's 30 feet around, 30 foot deep all the way around, but then it comes up to about 2 feet. And it's really big drop offs, all rocks, and there's a bunch of weeds everywhere. And I was fishing a tube. I was actually fishing, this is a Red October Ninja tube. It's in the walleye pattern, and this is the shallow version. So this thing actually, I didn't like this for a long time because it sinks really slow. Like the Red October tubes, just to compare, I know we always talk about water wolf tubes, which we love, but I like trying everything. So if you can notice the difference, this is a 7.5 inch tube. This is the 9 inch tube, the standard. But if you notice the diameters of the tubes, the Red October tubes are actually quite a bit fatter. Mm-hmm. So they sink even slower because they just like, there's just so much like displacement. But this tube has like no weight in it basically. So when you chuck it out, it's just like, it slowly sinks. And if you jerk it a few times, it literally like pops out of the water because it's so high in the water column. It literally is like 1 to 2 foot you can let it sink, but like it's just like slow. Anyway, so I was fishing that, and I was slowly just kind of twitching it around the weed edge where the rocks dip down. And I was paying attention all day. Like all day I was doing figure eights. All day I was watching my bait, looking behind my bait. And then the one time I saw a loon, and I was kind of like looking at it in the distance. And then my tube was just kind of slowly falling. And then I looked down right beside my bait. There's like a 40-inch muskie just sitting there, not following my bait. Like he came up from like the deep weed line and then came up, and he was just like looking at my tube, and it was slowly sinking. He just sat there like 2 feet under the surface, just sitting there staring at my tube. And I was like, okay. So I start like twitching my tube around and like figure eighting it like little pulses. And he just literally looked at it and just like slowly swam down back where he came from. I was like, what are you doing? Like, come on, that looks so tasty. The problem with this lake is it's very, very clear, easily 15-foot visibility. Like it's really hard. Once they see the boat, oftentimes I find that they don't like it. So anyway, that was the first follow, and I was just like, it was a big one too. So I was like, I was shaking. I was sharpening my hooks. I was like, oh, and then I was like, I'm going to come back. There's another shoal, maybe a mile down the lake. So I shoot down to the other side, and then I tied on my diving rise. I have this new Chaos Tackle Navin, which is a 10-inch diving rise. I have some weight on it, and I was fishing it pretty deep. And this fish, on the other hand, he came in hot. So I was working along this edge. With a diving rise, it's basically a big chunk of wood. So it dives down, and then you basically let it float up, and then it dives down. And that jerking action, it kind of looks like a fish like swimming down, and then, oh, I'm dying, and it floats back up. It kind of looks like an injured bait fish, I guess. The drawing power of these, like Andrew, like we've been fishing these for a while, but the drawing power, fish come out of nowhere just to look at these things. A lot of times. Remember that big one that came out to look at your suic like twice last year or 2 years ago? Yeah, they just love looking at them. So anyway, I have this big walleye suet or like diving rise, and I'm jerking it down, and all of a sudden this fish comes out of nowhere, and it starts like following it really fast. I'm working it towards the boat. It comes right up, looks at the bait, and then last minute swerves away when it saw the boat. And I was like, what? Like I thought he was coming in hot. I thought he was just going to open his mouth and grab the thing. I was so mad. Oh, that was that day. Later that day, I saw another muskie. He wasn't following my bait. He was just swimming around. So the next day, I was actually fishing with Ryan, our fishing buddy, and he was actually up at the park too. And he's like, hey, want to jump in my boat? We'll go for muskie. I was like, absolutely. So I went out, and this is the funniest thing ever. We had fished hardcore muskie all day. Like all day we were chucking big stuff, tubes, diving rise, all that stuff. Didn't see a single fish. And I was like, this is weird. Like, let's go to that shoal where I saw that other fish. And he's like, all right, let's go. So we went back. I literally was fishing the Beaver Baits baby beaver, which is like an articulating hair.
It's like a fly that you cast with a regular rod.
And you fish it kind of like a diving rise, except it doesn't float up, it sinks down. So it's kind of like jerk, and then it sinks, and then jerk, and then it sinks. And fish love it. And I'm literally fishing this for a long time, nothing. And then it got to the point where Ryan is smart. Ryan will take snack breaks. He'll be like, I need to eat some food. I need to drink some water. So I was like, I should do that. So I had this bait on my rod, and I just like had maybe 5 feet of line out, and I just like put it in the water because his dog was in the boat. And I was like, I don't want my lure in the boat because the dog will, especially if it has fur on it, it might try to eat it. So the lure was hanging about 4 feet under the water. I'm just sitting there eating a sandwich. And then I look down in the water, and like out of nowhere, there's like a big muskie just literally staring at it. Like it's literally like Ryan was still fishing, so the trolling motor was moving the boat. So the bait was just slowly moving, and this muskie was right behind it, like literally 6 inches behind it, just staring at it and slowly moving with it. And I'm like, oh, and Ryan's like, oh, look, and I look down, and this huge muskie's just staring at my bait, and I just like slowly grab my rod, and I just like twitch it once or twice, and the fish is just like and just swims down. I'm like, what? Like, we couldn't get a bite. And I know a lot of guys are like, well, you should have been doing this or that. We talked to everyone there. Everyone was telling us they had a brutal weekend that weekend. Just bluebird skies, super cold front that came in. It was like the worst of everything. It was like, it went from 26 degrees one day to like 12 degrees the next. It was bad. But yeah, did see a bunch of muskie, and 2 of them were really big. And then that beaver, the fish just staring at the beaver underneath the boat. Like I've seen that happen on like people's Instagram videos when they just have a bait hanging over the side of the boat.
Yep.
But it was just funny just looking down, and it's just like right there looking at it, swimming with the boat. I was like, oh. But anyway, this weekend, me and Andrew are going fishing with Ryan up on the French River. By the time you hear this, it will have passed. So wish us luck in the past. I don't know. Anyway, that's my story.
That's a good story because it's a good example of the fact that, even us today, we can have the same stories that people had back then of, like, oh, we went out, the fog rolled in. That was the beast. You're like, went fishing. I saw one. It was a beast.
Yeah.
Where's the proof? I don't have any.
Yeah. Did you get a picture? No. I wish I had my GoPro set up for at least the beaver one. That would have been so cool. It's just like, oh man, if I had caught that fish, that would have been like one of the highlights of my fishing ever. Just like see a big muskie just staring at you underneath the boat. But worst case scenario, it grabs the bait and just pulled down and just pulled my rod in the water. Oh, there goes my rod and reel. I would have swam. The water's ice cold.
So we have 4 more, and there's 2 that are kind of fun, especially because they're a little different than our traditional sea creatures because they're more humanoid. I'll do the next 2, and then you can do the 2 after that. Okay?
Thanks.
So, Kamokwa, the Lord of the Undersea. This is a mythical underwater palace off of the Pacific Northwest coast. That's where he resides. The Kamokwa is a supernatural ruler of the sea, living in a palace filled with copper, treasure, and marine spirits. He controls tides, currents, and sometimes the fates of those at sea. Like, this is one I know doesn't exist, but because I don't believe in fate at all. But it made it like it's not just a chance of like, oh, things can happen, but like I could be an idiot on the water, or I could do everything right, and someone's like, no, you're supposed to die. Like, no, it's terrible.
I feel like there was fate in that muskie fishing trip. I was like, why am I not catching fish? They're like, thou shall not catch fish today. Thou shall I show you fish. Thou shall not catch.
It was Kamokwa.
Dang it, Kamokwa. I hate this guy.
So stories of Kamokwa describe him surfacing as islands that vanish back into the sea.
Ooh.
So in 1964, a Haida fisherman rowed, again, small vessel, toward what appeared to be a small forested island, only to watch in shock as it sank beneath the waves. His father explained, Kamokwa has shown you his house. This reminds me of the one that we've made up, was the Opionga killer. Yeah. And it was like a giant snapping turtle with like a beaver tail and
the head of a muskie.
Head of a muskie, but like its back is like an island's like size. It has like trees growing on it, and that's the Shield table. Lakes. Yeah, that's those little islands in the Shield Lake is could possibly be the back of the Opionga killer. That's what that reminds me of. Now, the one thing that Opionga killer didn't do is reward people, but apparently Kamokwa may be those who honor Kamokwa may be rewarded with luck or healing, while those who disrespect the sea risk misfortune. I mean, that basically just disrespect the sea is going to teach you a lesson. That's to this day, sudden fogs, whirlpools, or disappearing land masses are spoken of as signs of his presence, reminders that the ocean is alive, ruled by forces beyond human control. What kind of does scare me about this whole thing, though, is, sudden fog. Okay, odd, but understandable, right? Currents, wind currents, ocean currents changing, temperatures, fluctuation, sure. Whirlpools, like stuff can happen underwater. There can be, again, currents can change, cause a whirlpool. Disappearing land masses.
That is terrifying.
Wait, that still happens? Like, go right past that island. I'm like, what island? It's gone.
Imagine that. I'm like, Andrew, man, you'll catch fish by that island. You go there, there's nothing there. You're like, that liar.
It's like that interesting fishing fact I did a while ago about Kettle Lakes, where they're built on top of like that certain type of rock, and it will just all of a sudden can open up and it just leaks into caverns and the lake's gone. But now it's land falling into oceans. So the next one is Thayti Lake Monster in Victoria, British Columbia. Now this is a cool one because, again, we always talk about sea monsters as being serpents. This one is a humanoid creature with silver scales, webbed hands, sharp claws, and large yellow eyes. This is the kind of thing that like would freak me out if I saw it. Like fishing, I get freaked out when I go fishing and there's like some weirdo just standing on the bank, he's like, hey, what are you doing? He just looks weird, as a small dog that's yapping too loud. It's like that kind of creeps me out. I hate
that.
Yeah. Seeing like one of these, I'm like, ooh. So on August 17th, 1972, 2 teenagers swam, big mistake, in Thayti Lake when a scaled creature lunged from the water, clawing one boy's hand before vanishing. 4 days later, the boys reported seeing it again. this time watching silently from the shallows. That gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like anytime I think of like human eyes underwater, like looking out. Like I think Jesse and I were talking about that. We were fishing at night for salmon, and I can't find the video, but there's like a video of, I don't know, it's a harbor seal or a leopard seal or something on a dock, and the guy's like looking into the water, and it's like seal eyes just looking up, but they look human, and it's so creepy.
I just love the word heebie-jeebies. That's the
So police investigated but found no evidence, though official reports confirmed the boys' claims. I don't understand that, but okay.
How did they
Skeptics,
confirm it?
I know. I know. They just told the local paper, like, well, they said it was there, so. Skeptics suggest a hoax or a large fish mistaken in fear. Yet the incident remains one of Canada's most famous cryptid stories. Even now, curious swimmers sometimes report yellow eyes staring from beneath the surface.
Those are called walleye, sir.
That's what they like. It was some like monster walleye, like a 35-inch walleye that just grabbed this kid's hand.
Yeah, why not?
It's like, yeah, I could see that.
Don't tell me there's not one psychopath giant walleye that just has nothing left to lose. Absolutely. They have glowing eyes.
So why don't you read the next two, Jesse? Because again, I wanted to read one of the ones about like the humanoid ones just because they're fun.
It's because Andrew is a humanoid.
That's right. I identify with them. All right, I can't go around the water's edge.
This one is called Kaptka, the hair of the sea spirit. Location, waters around Vancouver Island. Description, a drowned sea spirit depicted as a pale woman or giantess with long, trailing hair. Gross. If I saw this on land, I'd be scared.
I know.
Just some super pale giant with long hair dragging on the ground. Ew.
I hate seeing my wife's hair on the shower wall, let alone just like going fishing and just a mass of it. Just
You're right. I have to take a shower later, and I'm just scared. Just kidding. Why is it that what all women do? They just grab all their hair and just stick it on the side of the showers. Just like, I'll get this later. It's like, okay. Just a side story for all those guys out there that are, in a relationship with a gal that has hair. So, when hair goes down the drain, Andrew's a plumber. He'll tell you it backs up. It's disgusting. And if you've ever had to pull hair out of a drain, it's disgusting. If you're listening to this while you're eating your breakfast, I apologize. But I told my wife, because every so often our tub would get, slow draining. And I was like, it's hair. You have to use the thing that catches the hair. I don't want to sound like I was like to teach my wife a lesson, but I made my wife clean out the hair out of the tub. And it's so gross. She's like, we need to buy one of those shroom things immediately. So yeah.
As a plumber, I will say the tub shroom is the best for catching hair before it goes down a drain.
Yeah.
Of all the products out there, I would say that one works the best.
We're going to put the link down in the bio. Just kidding.
Please sponsor us, Tub Shroom.
Imagine that. AOA brought to you by Tub Shrooms. Catch that hair before it goes into the lake. And when you pull it out, you barf.
Save the hair. Make your own net.
Ew. All right, back to the cryptid, which is just as terrifying as a drowned sea spirit depicted as a pale woman or giantess with long trailing hair. Her gaze can bring misfortune. Honestly, if I saw that, I instantly would be like, I feel misfortune.
A dead person. Great. Like it's describing a corpse floating along. Be like, oh, it's misfortune. Like, yeah, I got to spend the rest of the day talking to the police while I found this dead person floating here.
Yeah, that's not good. But unlike the hair in your wife's shower, her hair is said to carry luck if treated respectfully. Story. This is the story of this. Fishermen speak of finding strands of hair tangled in nets, shining faintly in the light. In the 1940s, a man told of weeks of overflowing catches after carefully removing such strands from his gear. Others tell darker tales. Those who ignored the hair suffered poor fishing or sudden storms. Kaptka's legend is a reminder. Fortune and danger live side by side on the water. To this day, many fishers quietly whisper respects when strange debris drifts near their boats, just in case the sea spirit is watching. So that's disgusting. So it's like, oh, I found some hair in my net. He's like, good luck to me. The other guy's like, ew, hair. Pulls it out. He's like, gross. And then a storm kills him.
I love the end. It's like, whisper respect when debris drifts near the boats. Meanwhile, I'm just like, camping in Algonquin Park or whatever. I just see a coffee cup floating by. I'm like, dang, it's idiots. Like, scoop it out, throw it out.
Even though we're from the city, like, dang it.
I'm vacationing better than they vacationed.
It's true. Yeah. Well, you know what? This one is the most terrifying to me because I think a long-haired, pale, tall woman is terrifying. No
I
offense if
feel
that's what you
like
look like.
the most likely thing I would experience, like of all these things, what's the most one I would likely come across? It's probably a drowned person. Like, unfortunately, I had like we've been fishing again. We live like in the GTA area. We've fished like harbors, and I remember one time we were fishing the harbor, and there was like helicopter with lights. Like, look, a few times you'll see the police helicopter with a searchlight looking around for random stuff.
Yeah.
And then the one time we found out the next day that there was a body found floating in the harbor that we were fishing the night before. We're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's something that, like, unfortunately, that's probably of all these sea monster creature things, is probably what I'd have to end up seeing in my life.
Yeah. So make sure you
But
wear a
now I
life
know.
jacket and don't be
Yeah.
a drug dealer.
Yeah. Yes. And now you know. Keep your little hair comb, take some of that, make sure you comb it nice, keep it, wrap it under your hat or something, and then you're going to catch a new PB.
Just a little story talking about that.
Don't mess with evidence, people.
Just a little story. Salmon season is basically over for us. Like we were fishing the harbors a lot, and the river mouse and the sports bow, flatback canoe. Did really good trolling this year. Like our best year in years. It was a great salmon run. We caught a lot of amazing fighting fish this year. Like the fish were top tier this year, right, Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
Like
they screaming runs.
We had 6 days in a row, not 6 consecutive days, but 6 trips in a row that we went after work. That every single day we went out, we caught multiple fish. Like there was no day where we went out and caught nothing. It was crazy. Usually you get skunked once in a while on a bad day, but even on the bad days, we caught them. It was a great run. But anyway, me and Andrew we're trolling in front of this river mouth, and we passed by this like thing that looked like a hand, and Andrew's like, is that a hand? And I was like, because it was dark, right? So I was like, I don't know. And I was like, no, it's just the glove. And he's like, but what's inside of the glove?
We passed it once, and I was like, that looked like a hand. And then as we trolled around again, didn't it bump your rod? Like it looked like it grabbed your rod because your rod's like sitting in the water as you're trolling.
That would be a terrifying cryptid. It's just like, like on the Addams Family, like
the Thing.
Yeah, just like a hand that comes out of the water and chokes you while you're fishing. Oh, that'd be terrifying. Okay. Oh, people are like, fishing is so relaxing. We're like, depends where you go. All right, here's the last one. And I wonder if you're listening to this, which one so far do you think is the fake one? Because it's getting pretty tough because they all sound equally lame. I still think it's... No, like before I read the
equally lame.
Thanks. No, I know, but before I read the last one, I still think it's the Cardboardosaurus one that Andrew made up. The one that's a caddy, because it just seems way too standardized fake. It's just like he made that up. He wants me to believe that it's real just because it seems just like pretty like, oh, why would I make up something so lame? Haha, I know. I know. Anyway, this is the last one. Andrew gives me the ones that have weird names. So this one is called Pugwis. Pugwis, the sea-dwelling wild man. Sure, we all know one of those guys.
I have to tell you, when I was doing research, and we're going to get into this one, all I could think of when I read this was combining it with the name we talked about earlier, was Old Ned. And it made me think of Old Greg. Like,
Old
you want
Greg?
to drink some Baileys from a shoe? like that's picture that character now as if you haven't seen Old Greg, but like it's a reference to a YouTube video, but my goodness, this reminds me of Old Greg. So now you can carry on. This is one I did want you to read, Jesse.
Why are you fishing my waters? I'm not. Then why is there a hook in my head? If you haven't seen Old Greg, go on YouTube and look up Old Greg. It is hilarious. Anyway. All right, Pugwis, the sea-dwelling wild man, who is like Old Greg, apparently. Location, northern Pacific coastlines. Description, a gaunt, fish-faced humanoid with sharp teeth, bulging eyes, and seaweed-like hair. Now, this is the folklore from the Kawaka Waka Walk. He's known for offering shellfish. Those who accept it are bound to him, pulled beneath the sea. That's not very nice. So in 1947, a fisherman camping near Alert Bay claimed he was approached at night by a thin, dripping figure holding clams. That's terrifying. Though it never spoke, he swore he heard his brother's voice urging him to eat. Terrified, he refused, and the figure melted back into the tide, leaving only ripples and the faint clink of shells. More recently, kayakers near Telegraph Cove reported seeing a skeletal figure with seaweed hair watching from the rocks before slipping silently into the surf. They left convinced the coast still harbors watchers no one dares to approach. That's probably the most terrifying one. I'm not going to lie.
That's creepy.
That is
I saved
terrifying.
that one for last for a reason. I love how like this guy is some creepy like guy coming. I'm picturing like old Greg, yes, but I'm picturing probably a more pop reference would be Bootstraps Bill from the Pirates of the Caribbean, where he's like half fish, he's growing into the ship, you know, like he's like that's what I'm picturing, him coming out like soaking wet and just like standing there like offering you clams to eat.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Thank you. See, this is what I don't like about it. So he offers you clams, and when you accept, he pulls you beneath the sea and kills you? Yeah. That's not very nice. You think that if he'd accept, he'd be like, all right, let's eat some clams. And then he'd be like, tips his hat, and he's like, good day to you, sir. If you say no, he's like, why? You don't want to be friends? Then he kills you. All right.
Although, I will say, for eating the seafood versus danger level is still probably better than getting your shrimp at Walmart.
At least they're fresh.
Yeah. It doesn't say anything about, irradiated clams there. They're just normal clams. They probably taste good before he drags you out to sea.
Yeah. You got to reward yourself before you die. I have to say, though, if I was fishing in the canoe or in any boat and it was nighttime, and I know we're not near the ocean, but say you're in a lake in Ontario, say you're in Algonquin Park camping, and then just along the shorelines or along one of the cliffs, like on a Shield Lake, there's just like some guy staring at you. And then when you look back, he just like slips into the water. I would pack up and leave. I would not sleep that night.
It's either my dad secretly skinny dipping while he's camping again.
He does that.
Or it's a monster.
Yes.
Either way,
terrifying.
You don't want to approach. None of this. Let's get a better look.
Oh, no, please no. Gladly, it's at night. Oh, that was awesome. I love these episodes. Again, we haven't done one in, I'd say the last time we did one was last fall. So it's been a year.
It's been a year.
Yeah, since we did one. So we would like to thank, there's a few followers that follow the podcast that asked for one of these again because they really enjoy them. The last few episodes, we've had a lot of awesome guests. And like we say to our listeners, we're almost at 120 episodes at this point. A lot of people will message me and be like, hey, do an episode on this or this. And I'm like, we did last year. Check it out. Because they started listening recently. Go through our episodes. Go through the backlog. There are literally over 100 episodes that cover almost everything that we could possibly think of when it comes to Ontario fishing. So check it out. And if you want to hear a specific episode and you check it out first and you don't see it, then you can ask us to do something new. But we don't bite. If you're looking for an episode, send us a message, send us an email. Best way to get a response is an email, which is down below in the show notes, or send me a message on Instagram and I will send you the direct link to the episode you're looking for because I know where they all are. But anyway. Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention as well, I'm not sure by the time this episode release, we may be sold out again on hats. I'm not sure. Again, we have another limited supply of the AOA hats, like the gray one that I'm wearing here. We also have the blue and white. So if you are interested and we still have, feel free to email me. It's averageloonmerch@gmail.com. And if you have some availability, I'll let you know. But that's the best place to reach us there for any of our merch that we currently have. Also, for any future merch drops, we'll announce it, and we do have plans for more stuff coming out in the future. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, as for right now, things, again, really grateful for everyone's support, and the second batch of hats is going quick as well.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun. I do like these episodes a lot too, just because we talk so much about fishing, and we love it. We love fishing. We love talking about it. But it's kind of fun, like I said, to break it up, to have these in there because, Jesse and I will have random conversations about the weirdest stuff.
Oh,
and so we started doing this podcast to kind of show, like, yes, be informative about fishing stuff, but we always, like we talked about before, we always found ourselves funny. We entertained or no, I shouldn't say that. We entertained ourselves with our conversation, and we're like, I bet people would listen to this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this kind of style of podcast comes from, is us hoping to continue to entertain you. But yeah, feel free to give a like, leave a review for episodes like this if you do like them, if you want more. And we still have lots of other regular content, I would say, coming down the pipe still for this season.
Yep. Back to fishing next episode in 2 weeks. So yeah.
But before we go, we have, as tradition states, the quote of the week, and to handle that is Jesse.
Life is short, but if a freak offers you clams at the lake, just eat them.